Yeah, what I think the magic, I think Adzam Palo Rinpoche in his wisdom mind orchestrated this because what Denver Dzogchen Sangha is very special because it's designed for modern Western practitioners.
Just as Damien said, we do retreats. We're going to do a Rushin retreat in October. We do online stuff. We're doing a weekend practice thing for developing and increasing lungta, or the wind horse energy, the uplifting energy.
But we do want the door to be open to those who want it, right? Because this is a very unique thing that I think is very supportive for people like me who are serious in the Dharma and also living a family, worldly life in this country. Welcome back, everybody, to the Denver Dzogchen podcast. I'm here once again with Joseph Wagner, and today we are going to talk about the Denver Dzogchen Sangha. We've had some people show interest in what it is we're doing and what are we? Are we a real Sangha? Is it a group? Is it just an online thing? Are we a podcast? I don't really know. So we're going to talk about what Denver Dzogchen is and why, how it got started, a little bit of the history. And then if you have some interest in finding out more about what our group is and does, then we'll tell you how to do that. So welcome, Joe. You can just get us started on what is Denver Dzogchen Sangha.
Well, Denver Dzogchen, its real name, so to speak, its Tibetan name is Chuni Ling, the fortress of the Dharmata. And we were given that name, and I was given the mandate to do this, to start this, by Adzam Palo Rinpoche in 2001. I tell it very briefly because it's a funny story. If you know Adzam Palo Rinpoche, he tries to meet with every person at a retreat. And in those days, he was coming like once a year, once every other year. And so everybody got their 5 minutes or whatever to, deepen their understanding in a personal way. So it was my turn, and I went in, I did my thing, and I got up to leave, and I went out, and I was about to go in the bathroom, and this fellow poked his head out, the person who was following me, and said, "Hey, Rinpoche has to tell you something." And I was like, "Uh-oh, that can't be good." So I went back in. He said, "You live in Denver, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I want you to teach. I want you to start a center. I want you to teach the Dharma there." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Rinpoche, please. Don't ask me to do this. I don't know anything. I was a long-term practitioner even at that point, but still, you feel like, ugh." And I was like, "Please don't ask me to do this." And Anne Klein was translating, and she said it, and he started to laugh, and he said, "I'm not asking." As if I'm telling, right? So I was like, okay. So my plan was, I just don't tell anybody. If I don't say anything, then no one will know, and we won't have to do this. I went in the bathroom. The fellow who was following me went in. When I came out of the bathroom, he was waiting. He was like, "Hi, I'm Tom. I'm from Denver. I heard we're starting a Sangha there." And I was like, So that's how it got started. And we were originally meeting once a week. We've been meeting once a week ever since, like more than 1,000 meetings, if you can believe that. We were doing it in person. We used to have a real full-blown center in this house where I live. We invited a bunch of teachers to come and all kinds of stuff, but we were doing it in person until the pandemic came. And then we moved it to an online group, which we have not shifted away, because now there are people all over the world. So yeah, it's been really good. I still don't know anything, but I feel like at least I get to carry out Adzam Palo Rinpoche's instructions, and some of my teachers in Tibet said the same thing, and I finally was like, okay, we'll do our best. And so we've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, what I think the magic, I think Adzam Palo Rinpoche in his wisdom mind orchestrated this because what Denver Dzogchen Sangha is very special because it's designed for modern Western practitioners. You don't have to go somewhere for 3 hours and chant in Tibetan. These things that can be beautiful and amazing, but also overwhelming and time-consuming and difficult in a modern world. Everything we do is set up for busy lives, for easy access, but also not just shallow, right? Like, because that's the other thing. You can find tons of stuff online, but it's like, doesn't go very deep, right? It's just kind of like guided meditation or something like that. There was nothing for people who are tantrikas or into Dzogchen to go deeply with the practice and have Sangha, have community, and have support, and also have it be convenient enough to actually do. And that's what it's done for me, is given me a thread for all of my Dharma practice. I have lots of Tibetan Sanghas that I go to, every couple months or whatever, but mostly I don't feel connected to the Sangha because it's not often enough to really feel connected and supported. This group, we meet every Tuesday night, and then we have all these other activities that you can see, in addition to occasionally doing practice weekends where we just do little half-hour sessions a couple times a day. And that way, I've really felt my practice has been so supported. So I bow to Joe for doing this, and Adzam Pela Rinpoche for his wisdom mind getting this started and pulling Tom in to make sure you do it. And I think it's all been perfectly orchestrated to support people like you and me in this path, in this
Beautifully
world.
said. Damien, he said everything. He said it right. Yeah, I am a worldly person. I consider myself a yogi. I've been at this for a long time, but I'm still living in the world. I'm not in a retreat situation. And I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a serious practitioner, but I'm a very devoted practitioner of the Dharma, and I practice as much as I can, which has been increased over the years. I do find, just as Damien said, that there's no place for that, right? Most sanghas are either organized by, run by Tibetans, or by students of Tibetans who are practically Tibetan. They dress in Lama attire, they do the pujas and the prayers in Tibetan, and they magnetize who they magnetize. This, the Dharma has got a big influx of interest because of the Dalai Lama, and his incredible activity and his Buddha-like nature. But that's died down, but it leaves these people like myself and Damien who are serious practitioners trying to make a progress in this life, doing retreats, understanding the teachings to the degree they can. It leaves them kind of like, where are we going? So what I took from my instruction from Adzam Pelo to teach was teach what you know. And I have been in the same camp as Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche was for many years, that if the Dharma is not translated into English, then we will never become suitable vessels. When Guru Rinpoche went to Tibet, he did not say, okay, we're changing the language to Udiyanese because that's what I speak and that's the language of the Dharma, right? Or the language of the Dakinis or Sanskrit or Prakrit, one of these. He said, we're going to teach it in Tibetan. And yet when Tibetans come, there's a mixture. And I almost all my teachers are Tibetan, and I'm bow down to all Tibetans and what they've gone through and what they've kept alive. Incredible. But it doesn't make any sense to go to a puja where you cannot understand what you're saying. There is some blessing in the language, but if we want English to be a blessed language, we have to do it in English. So, we do all of our practices in English. Of course, we recite the seven-line supplication, they do some Sanjay in Tibetan occasionally because it's so pretty, right? But in general, we do the practice in English, and thereby we bless English with these incredible Vajra words, and these terms become part of our language and our mental understanding. And we do, just as Damien said, we do retreats. We're going to do a Rushin retreat in October. We do online stuff. We're doing a weekend practice thing for developing and increasing lungta, or the wind horse energy, the uplifting energy, accomplishment energy. We're doing that just this very weekend. We meet every Tuesday without fail. When I can't do it, Damien does it. When Damien and I can't do it, Ricky does it. And it's been amazing, thousands of meetings. And I think if you asked, this is it seems like self-praise, but why not? We're talking about this. I think if you asked anybody who's in the group, they would say, oh my gosh, my practice has definitely increased in its depth, in its profundity, in its ability to change my life and my attitude toward my life since I got involved in Denver Dzogchen. We are a blessed Sangha, not because of me. I am, if anything, I'm obstructing the blessings flowing, but Adzam Rinpoche, Garchen Rinpoche, Traj Rinpoche, and my many teachers who have forced me into this position as the quote unquote leader of the Sangha, they are full of blessings. And Guru Rinpoche's presence is here. So that talks about how excellent it is. So why don't we talk a little bit about what's required if you want to be part of it?
Yeah, so the number one thing, the first foremost thing, is that you have to consider yourself a Buddhist, right? Like, some people have hesitation around this, right? Because they're
Yeah.
not dedicated to one tradition, or they're open to many traditions, and that's all great and fantastic. But our group is definitely for Buddhists, because we are not, as Joe explained, this is authentic Dzogchen, Tantra, Vajrayana, Mahayana. It comes from a real lineage and is overseen ultimately by the lineage, right? As you said, that this comes from, even though we're doing it in an American style, and it in many ways, I think this is the prototypical beginning of something like American Vajrayana is what we're doing.
Yeah, I
But
think that's
we
right.
still are traditional in the sense that you need to have an empowerment, right? And this can be received from Garchen Rinpoche online, or however you do this. So, because the teachings that Joe gives are not just public open teachings, they require you actually have entered the Vajrayana vehicle and you consider yourself a Buddhist. That means you've taken refuge, you have your Bodhisattva vows, and you have your Vajrayana vows, right? And so the simplest way for people to do that, if they really are ready and dedicated, is that Garchen Rinpoche has said that you can just do it watching one of his recordings. And I think this is totally, he's Buddha. So if he says it, it's true for him. Of course, it would be best if you also get it in person from a Lama eventually. But if you wanted to do it quickly and easily, that's the easiest way to start, is just connect through Garchen Rinpoche. There's no errors there. He's pure Buddha. So that's the easiest way to get started and connect. And then, Joe, was there anything else I'm missing here?
I mean, we do a lot of interesting projects. We're building stupas and we're putting them all around the world. We've got a project to build a much larger stupa, which we're hoping to accomplish fairly soon. We have this Naga disc project, which we talked about in one of the podcasts, that we're putting these discs in bodies of water all over the world. We put one of those stupas on the moon, and to keep these projects funded and to have a sort of a back and forth between the energy given by the teachers in the group and the energy of the students, then it's not really dues, but we usually say like $1 a day keeps the Dharma flowing through Denver Dzogchen. So, if you're not in a position to give $30 a month, then you might not be associated with our group in the right way. But if that's the only option, that you have to give less or nothing, we can talk about that. That's a minor thing. But without that energetic exchange, we can't do our projects, right? We're making statues of copies of a Kutzab image of Guru Rinpoche right now. A lot of cool stuff. So in order to fund that, that's the only other thing. You got to be a Buddhist. You got to have received empowerment from a qualified teacher, and dues are part of that. So, but it's actually quite easy. And also, I guess the real requirement is that you have to be serious about your practice and you have to be a Vajrayana person. If you're a Zen practitioner and you're like, I want to get into Vajrayana, I'll do whatever, then there are books you can read that we can provide you with, that'll give you a background. Otherwise, you have no idea what you're doing, like I did in the beginning. So coming from a Zen background, it's much simpler. So yeah, those are the requirements. It's not difficult. And we have a very active WhatsApp group. We've got Damien's teaching the light of wisdom. We've got a Wednesday night group for more general people, and we've also got our Tuesday night stuff and all the stuff associated with it. We got a pretty active Sangha going on.
Yeah, and these requirements are because what we do is really deep. Like I'm teaching the first book of Light of Wisdom. I'm probably going to continue into the second book, but that will no longer be public because these are things that have requirements, right? So there's lots of stuff that Joe teaches and that I teach that are require that you be a Vajrayana practitioner with Samaya. So that's the reason for these things. It's not to be exclusionary or to keep people out. And that's also why we have the guided meditation on Wednesday and we have the Light of Wisdom coming out. So there are things for people who don't want to commit and aren't ready for that sort of thing.
Nobody has to do anything they don't want to do. Yeah. The Vajrayana is, we're trying to keep it real. Keep it authentic. I have my own Samaya with my teachers. Damien does too. And all the members of our group are in the same position. And we honor the tradition. We're just trying to make it as accessible as possible for real practitioners in the West. And so far, so good. 25 years and counting. So we'll see if we keep going. If you're interested, you can send us an email, explain your practice background. I like to talk to everybody on the phone at least once, just to make sure they're on the same page and see if you have a link. I think it's good, but there are many sanghas, and it is important to have a Sangha. So if this is reaching you and you're a solo practitioner, see what's available in your town. See what's available in the neighborhood. And there's online teachers like Lama Lena who are awesome. And you can connect, electronically if you can't connect in person, if you live in the middle of nowhere. So, and if you're interested in Denver Dzogchen, easy to reach us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate all of you watching and following along. I know there's many people been watching our podcast now for a long time, and we've been doing it for quite a long time. So maybe you feel like you're already kind of part of this Sangha. And so if you want to make that official, we wanted to make sure people knew how to do that, because we get people going, well, what is this? And how do you connect? And so that's it. That's the story behind. And of course, we're not like proselytizing or anything, but we do want the door to be open to those who want it, right? Because this is a very unique thing that I think is very supportive for people like me who are serious in the Dharma and also living a family, worldly life in this country. So I hope that appeals to you. And if you find interest, that QR code should be at the beginning of the episode. And you can just shoot us an email and let Joe know all those things. And we look forward to connecting with you. And that'll be it for this episode. So thanks again for watching, liking, sharing, subscribing, all the things that support our channel. This is just one of our activities. So we appreciate you.
And we'll doing our best. Yeah. Thank you, Damien.